Hey, what's up guys, Zeke here, back again with another video. Today we are going to be talking about the top 5 snipers, and I'm gonna give you the best loadout for every sniper in Call of Duty Mobile. But of course, before we get into that, shout out to Kristen Avila. If you guys want to shout out in my next video, all you have to do is leave a like, subscribe, and comment in today's video, and I'll choose one randomly for my next video.
Okay, so what's gonna happen is we're gonna have S tier all the way to F tier. S tier being the best snipers and then F tier being the worst snipers. Then I'll also show you guys the best loadouts that I would recommend with the snipers in my opinion. Then we'll talk about the top 5 snipers in general once we have the S tiers and the A tiers locked in. Alright, so let's get it started. Okay, so the first sniper on the list is gonna be the Locust, and it's been one of my long-term favorite snipers, before the Tundra at least. Although its one-tap hitbox is a little smaller than the DLQ, it's still a really good sniper to use, so I think I'm gonna put it safely on an A tier sniper. So as for the loadout, this is what I recommend you guys using. So YCAM lightweight short for the ADS time, OWC skeleton is definitely a needed, and then we have the FMJ perk, OWC stopping power, and stipple grip tape. Now there are some people that recommend not having stopping power and replacing it for something like an OWC laser, but honestly the laser is horrible, especially if you're in situations where you need to hardscope a little bit. That laser really gives it away, so I would recommend just not using the laser and sticking to OWC stopping power. Okay, so next on the list we have the XPR. Now some people don't know the XPR is actually a really good sniper in terms of its fire rate, and its hitbox isn't too bad really. So I've been thinking about this for quite some time, but I think I'm gonna put it safely on C tier. A few seasons ago it got buffed and it got really good for my opinion. Like I've tried using it in some videos and it's actually a banger. Although it takes a lot more skill than most snipers because you kind of have to aim for the upper body and head. But it's also really good for spraying, especially because of the fire rate. So if you know how to spray it right and you got the aim for it, might want to try using it. It's a really good alternative to the meta snipers. So as for the build, this is the one I used in my recent XPR video and it was really good for me. So as you can see, I have the OWC stopping power, FMJ, no stock, RTC CQB, and the tactical suppressor. Now some people would argue why am I using a tactical suppressor on the XPR, but I just noticed that whenever I have a silencer on my snipers, it tends to have the enemies react a little slower, therefore not going full aggro on me. I don't know, that's something I realized with snipers is if you don't have a silencer on, they're just gonna rush you really quickly a lot, and they seem to be more cautious of snipers when they have silencers, so you might want to give this a try. Okay, so next in line is the Arctic 50. This used to be one of my favorite snipers back in the one-tap era when the Arctic 50 could still one-tap anyone anywhere in the body. Basically an OP HDR back in the day. But since then, it's been nerfed a lot and the hitbox is not really the best. It's still a decent sniper, but especially with today's meta, it's a lot harder to use and a little less practical. So I think I'm gonna put it on D tier, just a little bit below the XPR. Because honestly, when you're comparing the XPR and the Arctic 50, it's kind of like the same, but the XPR is the better version now because it has the faster fire rate. So as for the build of the Arctic 50, my recommendation is the Assassin Short, OWC Skeleton Stock, FMJ, Stipple Grip Tape, and MIP Stopping Power. However, if you're one of those guys that just don't believe the stopping power is worth it, you can go for the muzzle and replace it for an OWC light suppressor. I know you guys may have seen in past videos I was using a suppressor on my Arctic 50. This was the build I was using. I really hope they buff the Arctic 50 once more because it used to be such a banger sniper and I kind of want it back. Okay, so next on the list we have the M21 EBR. I don't even think we need to talk about this. You know what? Maybe I'll bump it up to an E tier. It's not horrible. I mean, I guess it has its benefits. Like, it's not that bad when you spray it. It's still a horrible gun overall though. So I think I'm gonna put it on E tier because I have another sniper in mind that belongs in F. So for the build of the M21 EBR, I went for MIP precise barrel, no stock, FMJ, OWC laser, and 15 round reload ammunition. I tried putting a tactical suppressor on it and honestly I felt like I was getting more hit marks for some reason. But honestly, no matter how you build your M21 EBR, it's always gonna be just like one of those mid snipers, so this is probably the best build you've got a chance with making it work. This was probably the worst experience, well, one of the worst experience I've had with using snipers, especially when recording videos with it. Okay, so next in line is the DLQ. This used to be one of my favorites. It's still definitely up there for me. One of my favorites still. Okay, so next in line is the DLQ, the long-term king of snipers before the Tundra came. And a lot of people still argue and claim that the DLQ is better than the Tundra, but they always say it just feels better, but it's not really better, you know what I mean? But regardless, as an overall sniper, the DLQ has it all. So I'm gonna put it on A tier. I remember talking about the Locust and DLQ before in one of my old videos explaining why the Locust is better than the DLQ. But the DLQ also has its benefits against the Locust, like having a suppressor. But of course, they're head-to-head with each other, and I still have one sniper in mind that's definitely an S tier. So for the DLQ build that I recommend, it's the OWC Light Suppressor, MIP Light Barrel, YKM Combat Stock, Extended Mag A, and FMJ. This has pretty much been the standard build for most DLQ mains, and it's just a really versatile build, so I think a comfortable A tier would be good. Okay, next, the Outlaw. Now a lot of people got heated up with this one because the Outlaw was in and out of my top 5 list, and honestly, I've been using the Outlaw here and there, testing it out, and it feels kind of like a downgraded version of the Tundra, and when comparing it with the Locust and DLQ, I don't think it's on the same level, so I'm gonna just put it safely on the B tier. I remember getting hit marks after hit marks with this thing, but then I also remember popping off really well in certain times. So it's probably just one of those really hard to use snipers because of the hitbox, and less bullet penetration damage even with the FMJ compared to the DLQ and Locust, but it's still a good sniper. So as for the build, I'm recommending MIP Memorial Cowboy, YKM Combat Stock 9-round reload, stippled grip tape, and FMJ. Overall, Outlaw's pretty good. Definitely should try it if you just want to have some fun with some snipers other than the meta. Okay, so next up we have the Rytec AMR. This used to be one of my favorite snipers back in like 4 seasons ago. Or I believe it's when it was like newly released. It was still a really good sniper. But I remember it got nerfed, so it's pretty unfortunate, but it's still a really good sniper. I wouldn't put it on A tier, but I think I'll put it on B tier just next to the Outlaw because it's still an overall really good sniper. So if we're talking about the build, I would recommend using OWC Light Suppressor, MIP Extended Light Barrel, OWC Skeleton Stock, FMJ, and stippled grip tape. Next is the SVD. So the SVD used to be really good in respawns modes. I don't think there was ever a time where it was OP in SND, but it was really good in respawns and pro players were using it left and right. The only downside of the SVD is in the comp scene it got banned, but overall the SVD is still pretty good, but I wouldn't recommend it too much on SND and more on respawns. But at the same time, the BP50 meta taking over, SVD is just gonna have a really hard time catching up with that. Normally I would put it at C tier, but with the current meta, I don't think it just fits the meta right now. So I'm gonna put it on D tier. So I remember asking the pro players what their build was when the SVD was still OP in the comp scene, and this is the build that some of them recommended to me, and I've been using it for a couple of seasons before. If you're looking for a good respawn sniper to have fun with, try this out. Okay, so next is the Koshka. So Koshka is still pretty good. I would say it's like a DLQ but slightly downgraded, but it's still a really good sniper. So I think this one still deserves to be an A tier. It's like 1 step lower from the DLQ and maybe like 2 steps lower from the Locust, but it's still an A tier for sure. Okay, so let's talk about the build. I'm using OWC Light Suppressor, MIP Light Barrel, Mobility Stock, stippled grip tape, and armor piercing mag. Of course, if you're not a big fan of silencers, you can put it for like fast switch or a laser if you just full on aggro. But this is the build I recommend overall in terms of versatility. Next, we have the ZRG. It's a really good sniper, but there are just so many better snipers. And I think it's been dropped down ever since that nerf after nerf actually. It got nerfed quite a bit, but it's still a pretty good sniper. I would put it around the same as the AMR Rytec, and yeah, I think a comfortable B tier is a good decision for that. Okay, so for the build, I went for an MIP Light Barrel, YKM Combat Stock, OWC Laser Tactical, Armor Piercer Mag, and the stippled grip tape. Okay, next is the HDR. This is actually one of those fan favorites as well, mostly by the people that are struggling with crosshair placement, those minor adjustments wherein they aim from the lower body all the way to the upper body, causing them to get more hit markers. So I would say the HDR would normally be by B tier with the ZRG because of the slow ADS time, but because it has the potential to one-tap anywhere in the body, I would put that, I guess, in an A tier. Because not only is it friendly for those semi-sweats, but it's also really good for new snipers or newly transitioning players. So for that, I'll bump it up all the way to an A tier, although, like I said, the ADS is hella slow. So the recent build that I've been testing with the HDR was the OWC Light Suppressor, FTAC Stalker Scout, FMJ, OWC Laser Tactical, and the 7-round mag. Now overall, this sniper is pretty balanced and it was really fun to use. It's just a little hard with the ADS time, but once you get used to that, it's actually a really good sniper that deserves an A tier. And lastly, do we even have to mention this? Tundra. LW3 Tundra Automatic S tier. It's the best in everything, bro. It's really good for its ADS time, has the fastest ADS time. It's really good hitbox. It's just the better Locus and DLQ combination. It's like the Outlaw and the DLQ had a baby or something. It's just really good. So the build I'm using is a Tactical Suppressor, 26.5 Hammer Forged. Some people like to use the Tiger, but there's just more benefits for the fire interval for me in the Hammer Forged, so I would recommend that. FMJ is definitely one of the must. And of course, we have the last two, the 7-round extended mag and the airborne elastic wrap. So this is where a lot of builds differentiate. Mine, I prefer the airborne elastic wrap because of that flinch, especially with the BP50 meta nowadays. But it still gives you minus 25% ADS time, wherein some people would recommend serpent wrap for that extra 5% ADS time. Now that's completely up to you. There are also some people that would change FMJ for fast switch if they're just insanely aggro, or even replace a tactical suppressor for an OWC laser if you're that type of guy. But overall, this is my suggested build and it's been the most comfortable one for me to use for the past few months. Wait, am I forgetting a sniper? Oh yeah, NE45. Yeah. Hell nah, bro. F tier, just genuinely an F tier. It's just a troll gun. It's definitely not up there in terms of anything aside from a troll gun. And this is also what I used in my most recent NE45 video. So MIP Custom Light, YKM Light Stock, OWC Laser Tactical, Light Trigger, and Electromagnetic Ammo. You're gonna want certain perks. First, you're gonna want Flak Jacket. And then for the blue perk, you're gonna want to go for Demo Expert. Okay, so here's our final list. We have an S, A, B, C, D, E, all the way to the F. So we have 1 S tier, 4 A tiers, 3 B tiers, 1 C, 2 D, 1 E, and 1 F tier. So for top 5, I would go with Tundra as number 1, Locus as number 2, DLQ as number 3, Koshka for number 4, and HDR at number 5.